for that. Oh my
I'm
God.
so sorry. Henry, I promise I won't share it with any third parties. I'll only put it on YouTube.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
even greater. That's good.
So before we start, can I ask you something? So is there any possibility to have the following trainings face-to-face? Because Semih Bey told me that, so we will have it in September, at the end of the September, and October and November too. But actually we would like to just actually take you to our school as a guest, and then maybe we can have some trainings face-to-face in the following months, if the corona lets us, of course.
Yeah, but there's a very critical situation and a very important condition, and that's the lunch. Depends on what kind of lunch you're going to give me at your school.
We want to see how tall you are, so that's why
Yeah.
we can make face to face.
Okay, of course, it's a pleasure for me,
Okay.
Zainab. I actually talked to Sardar Bey the other day, and then we decided that sometime after 15th of October should be okay. So yeah, of course, yes.
Okay.
Of course,
Thank
yes.
you.
Yes, we can. We can meet face to face in person. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And so about, I know it's a Saturday, I know it's essay writing, I know you've had enough of webinars. This one is gonna take about 1 hour or a bit more, maybe about 70 minutes, 75 minutes. I'm gonna skip the sections which I think are just basic things to you guys. But hopefully by the end of the session, you will have had a, I can say, rather a thorough kind of set of skills regarding essay writing and how to teach essay writing, what things to focus on with your students. Okay, let's get started. In today's webinar, I'm going to share some questions with you, and then we're going to very briefly look at an introduction to writing. We're going to look at essay essentials, and then the next will be task response, cohesion and coherence, syntax and lexicon, how to teach, how to emphasize these in essay writing. The last section before Q&A is how to give feedback to our students for essay writing. Yes, Henry?
Is there any way that, I know that you're recording this webinar, would you be able to share it with us so we can have it, so we can watch it, so we can really watch it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I have your email address, I have Zainab Demir's email address, so I can share the video with her.
I can forward your email to them.
Because I'm recording this video to my computer, not on cloud. If I recorded it on cloud, you would be able to watch it anytime on Zoom. But because I'm recording on computer, I'll have to send it to one of you, and then you can share it with everyone.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, let's start with not a problem, Henry. Let's start with a couple of questions. You should see 4 questions on your screens now. Will you kindly answer these questions for me? We have 10 more seconds to go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're done. Let me end the poll and share the results with you. I can see that 8 of you are high school teachers, 1 of you secondary school, which makes it easier for me because what I'm going to share with you today makes better sense with high school students and with tertiary level, university level?
All of us are secondary schools.
High school.
Teacher, yeah, high school.
High school, that's great.
Mhm.
The best feedback source for writing, 3 of you believe that self-correction is the best source of feedback. 5 of you think that teacher feedback is the best, and 1 of you thinks peer feedback is the best. Not sure if I agree with you on this one, but 3 people have said self-correction, and probably I'd go with them, with the 3 people who said self-correction. And by the way, I forgot to tell you, anywhere you have questions, interrupt me. It's a Saturday, so feel free to interrupt me, ask your questions. If you disagree, if you've got questions to ask me. You know about feedback loop. 2 people know about feedback loop, and 7 people don't, which again is good news for me. Otherwise, if it was the opposite, I wouldn't have anything to share with you today. So, or maybe the meeting would be like for 20 minutes and then. And the last question, I know about run-on sentences. Again, I'm happy to see that only 2 people know, 7 people. Oh, I didn't share the results with you. Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm a terrible person. So sorry. I forgot to share the results. Now I shared the results and you can see them. I read the results to you anyway. So I think we've got at least 2 people who might find what I'm sharing today a bit, you know, matter of repetition for them, repetitive, but hopefully there will be some sections which are new to you. Okay, look at this image here and kindly unmute yourselves or use the chat box or mime and tell me how you think this image is related to essay writing. What am I gonna say by this image? Henry?
Oh, me? Okay. Well, as we can see, the tall building, that could be our essay, and we seen it that how it started from the bottom, laid up, and goes up to the sky, and shines bright like a diamond in the city. That's beautiful. The only highest building.
Beautiful, beautiful. Even the biggest buildings start with a brick or start with a block. You know, start with something very small. Thank you, Henry. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And this takes us to my next slide. Again, you can use the chat box or you can unmute yourselves and talk. Bricks to a building is like what to an essay? Janan, any?
Scaffolding, maybe.
Scaffolding. Yeah, but little bricks. I mean, if we know that a building, a tall building is made up of, huh?
Ideas, outline.
Ideas. What else?
I agree with Koray Hocam, maybe words.
Who's talking? Aslihan?
Yeah.
Say it again.
I might be agree on words part with Koray Hocam also wrote in the chat box.
Great, great. Words. Yeah. So if you want to emphasize the importance of words in an essay, this is the analogy you can share with your students. You know, as much as bricks are important to a building, words are important to an essay. How about this one?
Outline.
Outline.
Outline, very good. Outline or grammar. Grammar, outline. That's something that actually binds and ties all the bricks and blocks together. How about this one? Any guesses?
Coherence or something.
So Koray actually wrote in the chat box and I didn't see it, Koray. I'm so sorry. You wrote words and you were absolutely right. Sorry, someone said something I didn't hear.
Coherence or I don't know, something like this. Coherence,
Who's
transition
talking?
words. Mirai.
Who's talking?
Mirai.
Miray or Aslihan?
No, I'm not talking.
I'm talking.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Cohesion and coherence. Yeah, perfect. I'm sure you know about cohesion and coherence, but if you bear with me today, you will know more about cohesion and coherence and how you can emphasize these in your students' essays. For this and for the essay essentials, I just wanted to share the Ielts writing descriptors very briefly, and then we will go on and check each part separately. So this means that today's webinar can be divided into 4 major parts. As you can see here, and as you already know, one of the actually official international examinations in which writing is assessed very officially and in a very standard way is Ielts. You're already familiar with Ielts. Some of your students are already familiar with Ielts. In Ielts writing, you have 4 areas of task response, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy. Each of these will be covered today in our webinar separately. And then I'm going to give you some suggestions as how you can work on task response, which is the first one, and then the other parts too. Because for an essay to be regarded as a complete, as a whole product, it has to enjoy these 4 areas of task response, cohesion and coherence, grammar, and vocabulary. So in task response, sometimes in some classes, there's a lot of emphasis on vocabulary and grammar, and we forget that there are 2 other very important areas, namely task response and coherence and cohesion. And we fail to emphasize these in our classes, you know. Grammar and vocabulary are really important, but they're not everything. So this has to be shared with our students. They need to know that an essay needs to have face validity, as you can see on this slide. And here we are talking about short essays. We are not talking about IB type extended essays. We are talking about short Ielts type essays, which are usually about 300 words, in which we usually have an introduction. We usually have 2, 3, or maximum 4 body paragraphs and a concluding paragraph. And for your convenience, you can see a sample essay with 2 body paragraphs. So as a whole, it's 4 paragraphs. Looks like a standard Ielts type essay. And you can see the percentage, the weight each one carries, or the size of each one relative to the whole essay. Nearly 20%, a bit less, a bit more is the introduction, and the same goes for the conclusion. The remaining 60% is usually the body, and this is the face of an essay. You might think that why is it important? It is important because in task response, one of the things the examiners look at is the face of the essay. So if the introduction is too bulky and the body is too small, or the conclusion is too bulky, or the opposite, then it might damage the task response and students might lose some score. So this is something which you need to communicate to your students. In this regard, you'll always tell your students to understand the topic before they start to write. They will pay close attention to all parts of the question. It is not a test of your general knowledge, so state a position strongly throughout the essay. Sometimes out of excitement, especially when they see a topic they have already talked about, they have already read about, they jump to the essay, they write an essay and they submit it. They fail to see all parts of it. And then they lose substantial part of their score because they haven't been able to address the small part of the question. And in the same manner, they might address the topic in a kind of wrong way. And that can also come from their prior knowledge. So prior knowledge is always positive, except when it negatively impacts your essay writing, because you already know something about this topic. You prefer to put that down on the paper, and then that happens to be your major problem. Something that I always highlight in my classes, I always emphasize is, I know you know a lot about this topic, but choose only a few of them, stick to them and develop them. Do not jump from this idea to another because you just want to display your knowledge. It is not a test of your general knowledge. You might know a lot about feminism. You might know a lot about, I don't know, environment, animals, many things, but it is all about choosing a few of your ideas and developing them. Henry, go ahead.
I have a quick question for you, related to the topic anyway, but have you ever taught essay to a Turkish student in Turkey?
Never, Henry. No.
Because the question is this, we have a student profile which they have never seen essays even in their Turkish classes. So
Yeah.
my question is this to you, with your experience, how long of a process do you think for an English teacher that they need for a student who hasn't seen essay in their own language to divide it like by the months, or it should be like 6 months or 1 year should be enough time to have the students to completely understand and write an essay? How long do you think is a proper time for you, starting from the zero, basically starting from the bottom with these students because they don't even know in their own language? What do you think is the process that we should leave, spare a time to tell them and teach them how to write essay?
Henry, your question is a very good question, but I'm not the best person to answer, because just like you asked me at the beginning, you said, have you ever taught essay to Turkish students? And I said, no.
Yeah.
So I think the best people to answer this question would be your friends there, or people who are working in your school. They've had the experience of teaching Turkish kids, teenagers or adults, essay writing. To me, because I come from Iran, I also actually worked in Australia at Monash University. I taught from 2010 to 2016. I had Chinese and Arab students there, so not Turkish, but
Same profile, would you like to say?
somehow. Again, depending on many variables such as the age of the student, their cultural background, their educational background, and many other things. But in your context, because I know your students are about 16, 17, Henry, am I right?
Yeah, 14, 15, 16.
14, 15, around that age, with no knowledge of essay, I'd say something about between 6 months to 1 year makes sense to me.
Right, that's what I thought. So because when we are making the plans and our curriculum, so that's why I just wanted to hear your opinion also on this.
Yeah, this is my idea. But again, Henry, let me tell you, the best people to answer this question will be people who are around you. I mean, I'm sure they have more experience in teaching Turkish kids. Because, Henry, it's not, let me just emphasize this a little bit more, that it's not always grammar and vocabulary. Their grammar might be off the top, their vocabulary might be the best, but the thing sometimes which matters is the rhetoric. English rhetoric is different from Turkish rhetoric. It's different from Chinese rhetoric. It's different from Arabic rhetoric. English rhetoric is very straight, very straightforward. But Chinese rhetoric is very convoluted. It goes in circles and circles. Arabic rhetoric is, again, not as straight as English is. So culture to culture, it's different. But that's a very good question. Maybe some of your other friends can get back to you today or some other day. Another thing which I share with my students regarding task responses, you have a lot of clothing in your closet, but you wear once to a party. Writing an essay is like going to a party. If you want to go to a party, you open the closet, you have lots of clothing, but eventually you choose one set to wear to the party. You can't wear all of them. Zainab, does this image ring a bell to you? Or
every morning.
Yes, this is a problem that a lot of people have. Not just women, even a lot of men as well. I mean, when it comes to deciding what to wear. But again, you always know that at the end, doesn't matter how long you think, but at the end you decide to wear one set of clothing. And you can think how foolish and how stupid it would look if you decided to take lots of clothing with you to a party and wear all of them. That would be really foolish and stupid. So in the same way, what I try to tell my students is, look, you have a lot of ideas. It's like your clothing in the closet. Decide to take only a few of them, work on them fully, rather than putting all your ideas in the essay, because that can kill you. Regarding task response, such activities can be very helpful. I mean, matching. So I give my students these tasks and I get them to match them, pair them. And then we discuss, why do you think one matches A or one matches B? What is it that makes you think that one should go with A, two with B, or vice versa? Why is that so? By the way, I'm going to give you 1 minute to tell me if one matches A or B. 1 is the topic, 2 is the topic, and A and B are introductory paragraphs. And you can use the chat box or unmute yourselves and talk.
Two is an A, 1 and B. I think that's what I believe.
Henry, that's what you think. Let's see what Miray thinks, and Aslihan, Fatma, Canan, Kuray, Gözde. What do you think, guys? Do you agree with Henry that 1 goes with B and 2 goes with A?
I agree with him because, you know, A is completely related to the human and animal relationship, maybe the emotional, you know, effects on human being or the pets. So it's a kind of, you know, even if it seems general, but still it's not. It's a kind of specific and directly jump into the different topic. So
Yeah.
1 is matched with B.
Yes, Gözde. Miray?
I agree with Gözde and Henry.
Yes, yes, you are all right. You are absolutely right. And let's not forget that I'm not actually teaching you today. I'm not testing you. I'm just sharing how we can teach our students. Zainab, go ahead. Zainab, you wanted to say something?
I agree with them, I told.
Yeah,
So
very good. Yeah. So you might simplify this task because this might be a little bit over the level of your students. You might customize it to the students' level. I'm sure you will find a lot of such activities on the internet, matching topics to the introductory paragraph. And this is all about task response. If you train your students to match them successfully and discuss it in the class, eventually your students will be able to see why task response is important. It is not enough to write about the topic. It has to match it completely. If it doesn't match, then it's going to damage their essay. And I give them more activities, which I'm not going to use now. I give them a lot of more activities on task response. It's about matching. Tell me which one is the best, which one is the second best, which one is the third best. And remember, it's not math. Let your students discuss freely, because if you very adamantly tell them, no, this is wrong, impossible, you might really demotivate them and they might really lose their motivation and courage. It's not math, it's essay writing. Sometimes more than one possibility can exist. Yes, Henry?
Do you have any website recommendation or paid sources that we can get these ideas and stuff? Would you like to share with us too?
Yes, yes, I will.
Beautiful,
I will.
beautiful. It's a good Saturday.
Yeah,
I love
sure.
it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problems. No problems at all. Now, some people believe keeping pets can negatively impact humans' need for human companionship. Do you agree or disagree? Now, regarding task response, and remember in task response, we said it should fully answer the question. It should answer all parts of the question, right? Which item do you think is the best one? A, B, C, D? You can use the chat box or unmute yourselves.
D.
Henry, say it again.
D as in D.
D. You think it's D. Could you tell us why you think it's D?
Sure. As you said, there is kind of answering all the things. Despite all the merits, there seem to be some demerits in keeping pets. One of the which animals replacing humans emotionally. And also at the end, and this essay will argue why this concern is a valid one. It's just kind of, it made me believe that it answered all the questions, what they ask in the question.
Absolutely right, Henry. Absolutely right. And for that very reason, C is not the best answer, because C fails to answer, do you agree or disagree? You know? So such exercises, my friends, using such exercises with your students and getting them to match them, discuss them, why D is the best one, why C is not the best one. And I'm going to share some websites and resources you can use with your students to further train them. Okay, this much about task response, and this brings us to coherence and cohesion. Could you match them for me? Which is which?
I think first one is A and second is B.
Aslihan, say it again.
I think first one is A and second is B.
You think so? So
Am I
1A, 2B, Aslihan, right?
Yeah, I told like this.
You think so?
Mhm.
Thank you, Aslihan. Not sure if I agree with you. Let's see if any other people agree or disagree with you.
If I'm not mistaken, do you know Turkish a little bit, right, Mr. Emir?
Yes, go ahead.
It's like cohesion, isn't it, like uyum in Turkish?
Henry, my actually background is Azeri from Iran. Unfortunately, I don't have that repertoire of Turkish yet to make sure what you said I know. Say it again, uyum.
Uyum is like the things they go together. They go together with. So that's why I was thinking the same thing with Aslan. Describes the way that the elements in our sentence and the paragraphs, they hang together to produce a meaning, which means in Turkish uyum. So they go together. They have connection and they make 2, 3 things. They make one thing together. That's what I thought also. I might agree with Aslan on that too.
I see, I see. Okay, first, let me tell you something very interesting, and that's a lot of students get low scores in essay writing because of coherence and cohesion, because they display reasonable knowledge of grammar and vocabulary, and they say, oh, I answered the question, my grammar and vocabulary were okay, but my essay score is 4, 5, 5.5. I was expecting to get a 7 out of 9. Why is it like that? So in our research, in our years of teaching IELTS and essay writing and looking at students' papers, we realized it's cohesion and coherence that students have problems with in a lot of countries. Just like I said before, it's about the rhetoric. It's about the Turkish rhetoric, Farsi rhetoric, Arabic rhetoric, English rhetoric. In English rhetoric, there's a straight line. If they need water, they say, I need water. I need a glass of water, please. But an Arab might say, well, I'm very thirsty. A Chinese might not even say, I'm thirsty. Might say, do you think there's any water available around here? You know, how the rhetoric changes from one culture to another. And this is a lot actually affecting heavily the coherence and cohesion of our talk and our writing. Because if an Arab talked to an English person and said, do you think any water is available around here? then the English person might say, oh, well, maybe yes or no. He may not think that this is a request, that the guy is thirsty. My Chinese students, I remember, told me that they never say I love you, even between couples, between partners, even in their bedrooms. I said, okay, when do you say I love you then? They said, we never say I love you. This is something you should feel in your heart. And then Brazilians, on the other hand, say I love you maybe 10 times a day, 20 times a day. So it's a matter of cultures. And the reason I'm telling you this is because coherence and cohesion is heavily affected by our culture, my friends. So work on your students' grammar, work on your students' vocabulary, but remember, coherence and cohesion are the things that Turkish students have problems with, Iranian students have problems with, Arab students have problems with. Okay, let's go ahead. I should disagree with Aslihan and Henry here, and I say 1 matches B, 2 matches A. So,
can I ask something?
Aslihan, go ahead.
Isn't cohesion like parts of a whole unit? That's why I chose A here. However, coherence means like the connection between the words. That's why B sounds more logical in terms of coherence and cohesion.
Aslihan, look, in many papers, in many places, in many educational settings, you might see that people are using cohesion and coherence interchangeably to refer to the same thing. You know, they come together. They say the essay lacks coherence and cohesion. Even a lot of teachers around the world who are teaching essay writing may not exactly separate these two, but let me help you approach the distinction between cohesion and coherence. Cohesion, Aslihan, is more mechanical. Words, grammar, anything that binds words and sentences and ideas together. It's more mechanical, what you can refer to, what you can point to usually. Coherence, on the other hand, is mostly conceptual. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I chose first one A and second one B.
Let's go ahead a little bit, Aslihan, and you will see. Because, Aslihan, look, to produce meaning, so coherence describes the way that the elements in our sentence and paragraphs hang together to produce meaning. Producing meaning is the responsibility of coherence. Sometimes you listen to someone who's speaking very beautifully, excellent grammar, excellent vocabulary, but at the end you say, okay, what's the message? What does it mean? What is the meaning of what you said? Or what is the meaning of this essay? I can't understand what the writer or the speaker wants to say. This is the coherence which is missing here, okay? Let's go ahead, Aslihan, don't worry. I will confuse you more. So, fill in the blanks with cohesion or coherence, based on what I just said.
I would probably say it's, completely vice versa, the opposite ones.
Gözde, is that you?
My connection, yeah, but my connection says, it's not stable. So
Gözde,
I would
number
say,
one is?
I would say number one is coherence and the second one cohesion. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
But
Gözde.
you would say completely the opposite, right?
Yes.
So I agree with Aslı's ideas, by the way.
I love it.
It's like a teamwork, Amir. You cannot win. We are more crowded.
Yes. You're absolutely right. I can't win. Let me see if I can find anyone to back me. Anyone? Friends, Fatma, Zeynep, Gözde, Canan, Koray, anyone to back me? Okay, look, it's not me talking actually. It's the knowledge I have gathered from books and papers, and eventually I'll be with you to attack them. But unfortunately, Gözde, yes, I should disagree with you and say number one is cohesion. It's the micro level, and coherence relates to the organization and connection of ideas to make meaning, to produce meaning. Okay, now to Canan, go ahead. Canan, unmute yourself. You are muted.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. I actually want to support you in some way. In Turkish one, Henry said we use uyum. Actually, we have some linguistic terms for this. Maybe we can check this. Bağdaşıklık and bağlaşıklık. This is also related to this one in linguistic terms in Turkish. As we told you, cohesion is, as you said, it is mechanically, because, for example, when we mention about the subject, a name, then it is related to he, she, it, like the pronouns and or the subjects together. So it is more mechanic, as far as I remember. But sometimes I'm confused about this because I can't remember which one is the right one. Actually, that's why I didn't answer.
As far as I know, coherence means it's like the way that you use vocab, grammar, vice versa. Cohesion means it's, you know, it's like connecting the ideas to each other.
Yeah.
So that's why my answer, you know, was
Thank you,
like
Canan. We will see you on Monday. You know, you're gonna come to that room. So
I also
Oh, no.
was afraid of that. I actually agree with Amir and Canan, because coherence is like the transition words, etc. you use to connect the ideas. So it is the thing that you join all these things together, but the others are more like, you know, the grammar and other stuff. So I kind of agree with Canan.
you are El Presidente. We
Traitors.
agree with you. We were wrong.
Oh my God.
We were wrong.
Oh my God. You guys are losing. Okay, now. Yes.
I have a linguistic book. Actually, I can bring it to you on Monday so we can check in
Please.
detail, explaining and giving examples of cohesion and coherence. So we
You
can
better
check
bring
it
that
together.
book. Yes, you better bring that book. Definitely.
Okay.
Don't come alone.
Yeah.
Bring that book.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's go back to the slides and see how we can help our students improve cohesion and coherence. An essay can have better cohesion if you use repeated words and ideas, reference words, transition signals, substitution, ellipsis. These are for cohesion, and maybe some more ways, but these are the main strategies in actually maximizing the cohesion of an essay. And I will show an example to you in a few seconds. How can you maximize the coherence of an essay? Using an outline, reading it as a whole to see if it makes sense, asking a peer to check the writing and see if it makes sense, checking for a thesis statement, topic sentences, and summary. I think this slide can help you further to distinguish cohesion and coherence. So when you say, our teacher came a little bit late and then he did not teach, he as a pronoun is actually referring to the teacher, and it's kind of binding these two sentences together. A very simple example of I can open this website now and show you a little bit of. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. So we're looking at the cohesion in this essay. So what we mean by repeated words and ideas, these are repeated words and ideas in the essay in yellow. In some ways, they are repetition of the same words or ideas. So when it says they have developed new technologies, which means that everybody can enjoy luxuries they never previously imagined. However, the technologies that are temporarily making this world a better place to live and will prove to be an ultimate disaster due to, among other things, the creation of nuclear weapons, increasing pollution, and loss of animal species. The biggest threat to the earth And to the earth here is a kind of repeated word. To the world, technology is the same, and then increasing pollution you have somewhere in the text. So these are all examples of repeated words. Reference words, as you can see, the ones that appear in green are the reference words. They, them, these, which. Transition signals like however, due to, although, another, for example, such as, in the consequence of. Substitution, let me see if we have any example of substitution. Yeah, there's only one example of substitution, which is ones. So the ones, so you're talking about, for example, immigrants to Turkey. You talk about immigrants to Turkey, and then after a sentence or two, you see, so the ones who immigrate to Turkey, to Istanbul, when you say the ones, you're substituting immigrants with another word. Ellipsis, you see some words have been removed because you are sure that the meaning has been conveyed. And by the way, what I'm going to do, and as Henry already asked me to, I am going to share two, which you can use with your writing. So one of them is WriteFix, and the other one is AEP
Which one
Foundation.
do we get the exercise for the exercises that you said that you can
yes,
take?
yes. Yeah. Okay. My friends, let's test it. Let's try it. Do these sentences have cohesion or coherence problems? Number one.
Cohesion?
You think cohesion problem, Henry?
Maybe.
Maybe. Jana?
I think there's a coherence problem here. The first sentence talks about physical punishment. The second is talking about saving more money. So how those two ideas are connected is not really clear in my mind.
Jana, you're absolutely right. So Henry, to further clarify this thing and to ignite a real fight between you two on Monday. Yes, Janan is absolutely right, because this is grammatically, there is nothing wrong. I mean, syntactically, there is nothing wrong. Everything is in its place. But does it make any meaning? I mean, we should punish the students physically because they save more money. How are they related? Coherence-wise, this sentence has a problem. Next, number two.
I think Jana can answer this.
I am new Jana right now, so I can answer. I think coherence again.
Who is talking?
I'm Atlı again.
Fatma, what do you think?
Actually, I think this can be cohesion this time, because although it's the wrong one here, the word.
What is wrong?
Although it was too cold, we decided to stay at home. So this is the reason. There is not a contrast. So I guess it's cohesion.
Yeah. Sorry, Fatma.
You look at it differently, Fatma, and I really appreciate that. That's good. I mean, so you're saying that the word although is incorrect and it has to be replaced with something meaningful, right?
Yeah, if we use something else, so it will be grammatically correct and the meaning will be correct as well.
So using because, for example, huh?
Maybe, yes.
Okay, but Fatma, if we didn't want to replace anything and keep it as it is, would you say this sentence suffers from coherence problem or cohesion problem?
Actually, there is something about the meaning, but it's because of the word we use.
What is wrong with the meaning, Fatma?
Although it was too cold, we decided to stay at home. So if it's too cold, you stay at home. So
okay,
there isn't a contrast
that's exactly what I want you to feel. I want you to feel that, okay, it's the coherence problem, because when it's cold, you stay at home. So this doesn't make sense. Because it doesn't make sense, then it also suffers from coherence problem. How about this one?
Coherence.
Good. Yes, coherence. Yeah, but Henry, you might even say that this sentence doesn't have a problem. It's perfectly all right. Male teachers should be paid more. And that's, of course, the majority is with female teachers. It's just you and Koray. So you gotta be very careful with that and say, yes, this sentence has a coherence problem. How about this one?
This is cohesion. Can I say something? In some sentences, it's not directly just coherence or cohesion. For example, in second sentence, as Fatma Hocam told that if we change although at the beginning, then it's a cohesion problem. However, if we keep it as it is right now, then it's gonna be a coherence problem. So I think we had a kind of disagreement at the beginning just because of the perspective that we were looking at. So, for example, while you were having bottom-up approach, we were having top-down approach. That's why we had some problems. Actually, we all agree on the mechanical and logical parts of the sentences or the paragraphs. However, we couldn't agree on the perspective that we were looking through. Yeah, I just want to mention about that.
That's a beautiful explanation, Aslahan. You remember I said it's not math we are teaching, it's language. And usually when you teach language, there are different windows through which you can look at something, Even grammar, something as solid as grammar, you can look at grammar from different perspectives. And as an experienced teacher, I always tell my trainees not to say never in classes. If you're a student, say, teacher, is it 100% coherence problem? I say not 100%, but I think mostly it's coherence problem. Because I know if I say 100% coherence problem, the day after they will bring me a book and they will show me, teacher, you see, here it says it's cohesion problem. So yes, there are different ways you can look at this, but not, the last sentence that I just shared with you, I can say it has both problems, cohesion and coherence. And let me tell you once again, cohesion and coherence are more important than grammar and vocabulary for our students, because grammar and vocabulary is something easy for them. But you see how coherence and cohesion are even confusing for us teachers, And not really sure about Turkish culture, but I know in Iranian culture, there's a lot of beating about the bush. Do you know beating about the bush? Do you know what it is in Turkish? Beating about the bush means using a lot of irrelevant details when you say something. You don't go directly to the right point. You say a lot of things which are about the main thing, but this is not English rhetoric. I don't know what you say in Turkish to it, but in English they say beating about the bush.
Yeah, beating around the bush, I think it's the same thing in Turkish too. It's like you just go around the bush. Basically, you just going around it and not solving or not moving forward.
Yeah.
You're just going around it. I think they have some saying in Turkish too, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know the Turkish meaning, but I think we all understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Lafı dolandırmak. Can it be?
Koray?
Can it be lafı dolandırmak in Turkish?
Lafa
Exactly.
dolandırmak, lafa.
Exactly, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Going around the matter.
Yeah, exactly, Koray. And this is something that you're gonna help your students avoid in their essays. So write a topic sentence and develop that. Do not beat about the bush. Write a topic sentence and explain it to me. Again, remember that closet with a lot of clothing. One set of clothing and develop that. Coherence and cohesion. And by the way, you can take photos of these pages. One thing to secure high degree of cohesion is the use of transition signals or linking words or discourse markers. These are all different terminology used for the same concept. Doesn't matter what level of English your students have, could be elementary, pre-intermediate, intermediate, or advanced. I'm sure that they will enjoy learning these transition signals to use in their essays. And such exercises can really help, because marking an essay, specifically IELTS essay marking, pays a lot of attention to transition signals. You need to have some transition signals in your essay to secure a higher score. And this is something that your students need to practice, okay? So transition signals, as I shared with you, there are lots of them on the internet. You can go find a lot of tables of transition signals, customize them for the level of your students, and get them to do these. A little bit more on coherence and cohesion, my friends. We remember that for coherence and cohesion to be on top, not only do we need to have transition signal, repeated words, references, and a lot of other things to bind words and ideas together, but also we need to make sure that the essay structure is right and the paragraphs are in the right place. Paragraphs start with a topic sentence, and then they are developed in the body paragraphs. This is actually the essay structure graph, very simply illustrated, that you can share with your students. As you can see, that is the introduction, conclusion, body paragraphs. And you see how the introduction is like a upside down, right funnel, and the conclusion is an upside down funnel. What is funnel in Turkish? Kıf?
Huni, kinda. Huni, we can say.
Yeah. So the introduction is a right funnel. The conclusion is an upside down funnel. So you tell your students, look, if you want to produce, acceptable introductions and conclusions, they should look like this graph, this essay structure, this image. You start with most general ideas, you go down to the most specific, which is your thesis statement, and then you start the body paragraphs. Each body paragraph starts with a topic sentence. You develop that topic sentence inside the paragraph. And then in the conclusion, because you are restating the thesis, it starts with the peak of the funnel, the upside down funnel, the tip of the funnel, and then it goes down to the most general comments, and the essay finishes. And for this one to be consolidated, we have more images of the introduction and also the other parts. You see the hook, the lead-in, thesis statement, and scope. The scope is not a necessary component of the introduction, but the other parts are. So you need to have a beginning, and which leads into the thesis statement, which is the heart of the essay. The thesis statement is the heart of the essay. If you mess with the thesis statement, it's gonna damage your essay in the worst way possible. Henry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, would you give me an example for scope? What, how would be
Scope?
scope?
Yeah, a scope is, Henry, for example, this essay is going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of riding bike to school. This is a scope. And this is a very mechanical
can I ask you
scope.
something?
Sorry?
I believe that thesis statement gives this, and I don't agree with such statements that this essay will discuss about this in terms of this. I don't like this kind of thesis statement, and I always tell my students, please try to be more creative while you are writing your thesis.
Very good, very good. Yes, in more professional writing, Mirai, the scope is usually embedded in the thesis statement,
Uh-huh.
in a very implicit way, Mirai, right?
Yeah.
Yes, perfect.
May I say something?
Koray, go ahead, please.
May I follow Miray? Because I think scope is widely used in, not in essays for, but articles. Maybe they prefer using in articles, but in essays, I think it's not so common that we can.
Very good, very
Yeah.
good. Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's not a necessary component. It's more amateur-like. It's like beginner type of essay writing, you know. It's kind of also cliche these days. Very good. Okay, let's move to the body paragraphs. So when you are talking to your students about the body paragraphs, and you tell them that you usually have 2, 3, maximum 4 body paragraphs in an essay, you start the body paragraph with a topic sentence, then you have supporting sentences which support the topic sentence and not supporting something else. And then if you have examples, you add examples at the end of the paragraph, but they are not necessary. If you don't have examples, you don't have to have, okay? But so you practice this with your students. Tell me what you, so in body paragraphs, tell me what you think, explain it to me. This is what a body paragraph should be about. So a body paragraph is telling someone something and then explaining it. Okay? Nothing irrelevant, nothing extra, nothing redundant in body paragraphs. And as you can see for the topic sentence, I have written neither too general nor too specific. Because if it's too general, it should be moved all the way up to the introduction. If it's too specific, then it goes into the body of the body paragraph, not the topic sentence. Topic sentence has to have that kind of way or potential to be developed further. Okay, that's what we mean by neither too specific nor too general. Preferably not a very long sentence, not a compound, complex, simple, grammatically simple. Okay. In the conclusion, you usually restate the thesis statement, you summarize the main points, and then there's a concluding remark. If you remember the upside down funnel, starting with the thesis, main points, and then a general statement, and that is, and a cardinal sin, unforgivable sin in writing conclusion is adding something that you haven't discussed in the essay. Okay. And then as you can see, one more slide about the essay structure that we already discussed. And then in order to work on coherence with the students, I would give my students this image, and I would get them to label different parts. So for example, hook, thesis, introduction, I don't know, body, conclusion, the major parts, and also the minor part. Because once it becomes part of their knowledge, they know, I mean, they internalize this image, they know that what kind of model they should follow, and their essays will enjoy good degree of coherence. And also, after they have written an essay, I usually get them to fill this table for me, for coherence and cohesion only. I'll give you 1 minute to check these words and tell me if you have any problems, or we can move. Okay. If you have no questions, so this is a kind of recap of the coherence and cohesion. Before we move to the grammar section, just wanted to share this photo with you and ask you if you think that this gentleman is dressed properly. Fatma, do you think this man is dressed properly?
Yes, I think so.
You think so, yeah?
Mhm.
For the occasion, I mean, he's on the street. There are a lot of people around him. Looks like a gentleman, looks like, I don't know, an employee of somewhere, a professional, something like that. How about this one?
No.
So how is this about essay writing?
I think this is online essay writing. So then we can see only the top part.
Yes, Zainab. I mean, if you ask people to stand up, you would see something similar to this one.
Yes.
Yes.
Please don't ask.
Yeah, just don't. Okay. Yes, Fatma, you were saying, how is this related to essay writing?
For example, when you look at one part of it, it can look normal. There is no problem. But when you look at the general essay, you can see that they are not connected. For example, this man, it doesn't match.
Yeah. And this has coherence and cohesion problem, because just like you said, the outfit, the top part doesn't match the bottom part at all.
Yes,
because
there's a big
wear
difference.
The coat with the shorts and you know, he's not wearing pants. I mean, that's the main thing. And there's a lot of problem. And also this kind of clothing doesn't match the environment, the surroundings. So the coherence problem. And this one, so imagine that someone you know, one of the female teachers of your school, was invited to her first date, to go and meet a gentleman on a date to start a nice relationship. She goes to a restaurant and sees this nice young man who might be a kind of shock to you, because you might think that the clothing really doesn't match. I mean, the trainers and the socks even don't match, and the shorts and, you know, the sweater, etc. And about the coherence problem, this guy might be standing in the corridor of a school or university. Again, imagining that this person was a university teacher, you might say, oh my God, this might be acceptable at a party, but not at university as a university teacher. So coherence, cohesion problem, you know, just some fun maybe sometimes in your classes, just in essay writing, you can add some spice and some fun for them not to think that this is always so boring. Okay, let me see how much time we have. Oh, it's already over 1 hour.
Yeah, actually we have already run out of time.
Okay.
We have another meeting after that. So what time are you planning to finish?
Honestly speaking, the structure and the vocabulary parts at least require about 20 minutes. And maybe we can reschedule another meeting for the structure and vocabulary, because these two parts are really, really important. Because in the structure part, I was going to introduce simple, compound, and compound complex sentences. Also, I was going to introduce run-on sentences, which I remember majority of vocabulary. I was going to look at some strategies for boosting the vocabulary of essay writing. And also I was going to look at the academic style in essay writing with a lot of examples. And then I wanted to look at how we can give the best type of feedback to our students. But honestly speaking, I think, Ms. Damir, I think this requires another meeting. I can't really...
Okay, we can reschedule our other meeting. It was in the department with our coordinator. So if we can wrap all these things up like in 20 minutes, why not?
Yeah, we can. We can. 20 minutes is definitely
fine. Because rescheduling a meeting with you can be harder.
Okay, all right, no problems. So 1 minute for this slide. Read the sentences on the slide and raise a hand if you have problems, but I'm going to give you a lot of examples. So one thing we need to work with our students on is not just the accuracy of grammar, because the students pay a lot of attention to the accuracy, but range is also important. An IELTS examiner or any examiner, teachers, they look at the grammatical range as well. They want to see if the students are using only simple sentences or they're able to produce compound complex or compound complex. So emphasize that your students need to have compound complex and compound complex sentences in their essays. Okay, very quickly, tell me if this is simple, compound complex, or compound complex. Chat box or unmute. Fatma. Let me go back to the previous slide, give you 30 more seconds.
Oh, I guess it's compound. Complex.
Okay, a simple sentence, as you can see, usually one subject, one verb, or a group of subjects, one verb, or one subject, group of verbs. I woke up this morning and brushed my teeth, went out, saw my friends. It's still a simple sentence. A compound sentence, too independent. The weather is too cold, but I'm going to go out. Two sentences, independent. A complex sentence, on the other hand, you have two sentences, one of them depends on the other. This is the man whom I met yesterday. You see, one of them depends on the other. Whom I met yesterday depends on it. This is a complex. Compound complex is when you have both of them. You have compound and complex. So let's go look at some examples. When I arrived, they had left. So we have they had left. This is an independent clause. When I arrived is a dependent. Because it's dependent, it is a complex sentence. How about this one?
Simple.
Very good, Koray. Koray, thank you so much for saving time. How about this one?
Simple again.
No.
Compound, maybe,
Compound,
because two independent
compound.
sentences.
Yes, compound.
Yes.
Compound, complex together.
Compound.
Yes, this is compound complex. Very good. Tell your students, I want you to write an essay, and in your essay, I want to see all these types. I want to see all four types. Simple. And remember, I told you topic sentences had better be in simple, actually type. Okay. Now, let's move on to run-on sentences. Read the description, please. So one more area that the students have problems with regarding essay writing and grammar is the run-on sentences. And they can't realize, my son, my own son, with his superb English, by the way, he's in Canada now, he's studying computer. Even with his superb English, his only problem in essay writing is the run-on sentences. He doesn't know when he needs to use punctuations. Look at the examples, please. And the reason why I'm sharing this run-on sentences with you, because in my students' papers, I see a lot of run-on sentences.
So basically, run-on sentence means that the students who doesn't use punctuation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 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 And there are three ways to fix a run-on sentence that you can see on this slide. I'm going to move on because I have a lot more. So in grammar, we looked at sentence types, simple, compound, complex, compound, complex. Share it with your students. We looked at run-on sentences. In vocabulary, let me just share these ideas of how to enhance vocabulary in an essay. I'll give you 1 minute to read these and tell me if you have any questions with these. Okay, no questions, it means we can move on. So one major problem I have detected in my students' essays is that because they are watching a lot of movies these days, they are carrying the same language to essay writing. Unaware of the fact that the registers are different. The register of an essay is totally and substantially different from the genre or register of a movie. Okay, and they need to be aware of these problems. They need to avoid contractions, numbers under 10 expressed in figures, idioms and colloquialisms, and cliche language. Avoid these, please, because these will damage the academic style of your essay writing to the point that sometimes these actually can drive the examiners really crazy when they see you have written last but not least, every coin has two sides, or it's a double-edged sword. You can use this in speaking. I mean, it's okay. But in writing, especially if it's a very formal essay, you've got to avoid them. You see, this is an example. And by the way, you can take photos because we're running out of time and I want to move fast. You can take photos of these slides and then later on you can study on your own. This paragraph, for example, might sound and seem so native-like, English-like, but for an examiner, this is full of mistakes, full of non-academic style mistakes. Look at the mistakes, because these are idioms, these are slang English, these are not appropriate essay writing language. Okay, let's move on. Again, some more of non-academic, formal, informal language, which your students are going to avoid, like a lot of, lots of, phrasal verbs, two-word verbs, you know, because two-word verbs or phrasal verbs are not as good as one-word verbs in English. This is another example. I'm going to give you 1 minute to see if you can detect any style problems.
Contraction, first of all.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, these are the examples, you see. Help out is not academic. Contraction. His. What is wrong with his? Can anyone tell me?
One cannot solve problems. Maybe he or she can be used, but he, who is he?
So in the world nowadays, there's a lot of awareness about neutral language, gender neutral language. They say texts and essays should not use only one gender. Use both genders or no genders. You can't use his to refer to someone, to teachers that you don't know. So this is gender, or they call it sexist language. And then you see two-word verbs like set up. I also know they are contractions. So there's a lot of non-academic language used here. And this is the correct, the revised version of the same paragraph. You can see instead of help out, we have assist. Instead of user, we have users. We have users and then we have their, to save the paragraph from being sexist. So it's gender neutral now. Okay, my last bit of lesson is about giving feedback. And the first part is how you give feedback for your students' mistakes in writing, in essay writing. So one is red pen cross technique. The other one is when you highlight the mistakes. Another one is you underline or circle. One is oral. I mean, the feedback you give your students for their essay is just oral. You orally talk to them, right? One is written feedback. You have metalinguistic. Very quickly, red pen cross is a bit demotivating, a bit discouraging, a bit sometimes even offensive. Highlighting, a bit less offensive, a bit better than red pen. Underlining or circling is somewhat the same. Oral, avoid giving oral feedback for the students' essay writing, because it's writing and it deserves a written feedback. Oral feedback, sometimes you think that they're listening to you, but they may not. And you can never prove that you said something. They may deny it. They may say, oh, you didn't say that. What is metalinguistic? Metalinguistic, and a lot of you probably know, but just to make sure, metalinguistic feedback is to raise your students' awareness about the language problem. You can see the example on the screen. So one student has written, my friends spends a lot of money. And then you say, for plural noun, do the plural nouns agree with the verbs, or they don't necessarily agree? So you don't refer to the mistake and you write it on a piece of paper and give it to them. And my advice is have a template in your school with the school logo with two parts. Part one is about the positive remarks and comments about the essay. Part two, the criticism. And at the end, you will mention that you're always there to help and support them. Okay? And remember, in an essay, you don't have to correct everything. Okay? 1, 2, 3 corrections are enough, not more. And the metalinguistic is the best one. Don't give them the right answer. Ask them questions about that linguistic element. Oh, in passive voice, do we use the second form of the verb or the third form of the verb? This kind of question, written. Okay. Feedback loop that some of you said don't know. I think this slide tells you all about it. So in a class, if I were to assign 5 essays without editing, or 1 essay with 5 editings, I would definitely go with the second one. Require 1 essay, but edit it so much so to the extent that it becomes a flawless essay that your students can be proud of. And then you can get the help of the peers, self, and teacher. And this is feedback loop. So first time they bring it to you, you give some corrective feedback, take it back, edit it, show it to your friends, bring it back to me again. And the number of times they bring it to you and you give it back to them and they bring it back to you again depends on you and your institutional policies, your discretion. But I'm sure requiring fewer essays with deeper analysis and deeper feedback will be 100 times better. My final piece of slide to share with you before I say goodbye is the universal correction codes that I'm encouraging you to use if you are not already, because everywhere in the world, teachers are using these universal codes to refer to students' mistakes. So on your template, on the template that I said you can have in your school, the essay feedback template. First part, positive comments, second part, problems, and the last part, the support you can provide. Also, I think at the back of that feedback sheet, you can print a copy of correction symbols so that your students know when you say SP, what it refers to, when you say ART, what it refers to, etc. Thank you so much for listening to me, and apologies if this essay was much longer than you wished. Probably it's going to give you less of a time for your lunch or break or anything. You have my apologies. So sometime when I come to you in your school about a month or so from now, then there probably I can compensate in some ways. I don't know how.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
Henry, you and your army. I know you and your army are ready for me.
Thank you so much, Amir, for your nice presentation.
Yeah,
It was
thank
really
you.
fruitful for us.
It's a pleasure.
We are going to use them in our lessons.
It's a
Thank
pleasure
you very
for me.
much.
You can write to me anytime with your comments, suggestions, ideas, questions. And before we say goodbye, there's also one more thing I might be able to send you. Let me see. And that is sitting. Okay. So this, I'm going to share some activities with you that you can use for academic style with your students.
Thank you. That would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, they would save us.
Have you got it in the chat box, my friends?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you
Perfect.
so
Okay.
much.
I've got no more to say. Enjoy the rest of your days and have a great time.
Same to you. Thank
Just
you so much.
1 second. Let us download this. Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead, Henry. It's been a wonderful group.
Okay.
Gözde, Bushra, Koray, Canan,
Thanks,
Miray,
Masar.
Aslihan, Zeynep, Fatma, Henry. Thank you so much for your contributions. You were so responsive. And this was the reason I didn't feel the time. Otherwise, when the participants are not responsive, I would have felt the time and I would have really stopped it. So thank you,
Yeah.
everyone, and
Thank
take
you.
care of yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.